welcome back to the desk, powered by Xfinity. I am Gilly Weed, and this is the last night of the evening, Dread, our final match.
It is actually the last night of the evening. Statistically, every night is the last of said evening, so this will be interesting to see how it plays out. We're going to see TNC, or excuse me, not TNC, Brainpower and Cloud9 battle it out. Deciders match.
Right, we're coming in, it's not only a Deciders match, but a rematch.
Yes.
And before yesterday, I was talking about it kind of being a revenge match for Brainpower, but now, since Brainpower took out Cloud9 yesterday, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, there's definitely grudge matches probably all over the place, it feels like, where you have obviously the story of Cattle, who was on Brainpower, the tank player for them, moving over to Cloud9, then losing in the first set, and now Sray is like, nah, I got this, guys. Like, proving it. He's already convinced them that a new Barak is a thing, so...
So much so that we had all first picks in New Barak.
Yes.
We're going to have Sky Temple as our first battleground in this matchup, and that was the first battleground the last time they faced each other. So a lot of things could start to develop. One thing that Cloud9 talked a lot about is inter-team metas that developed, and because they scrim each other so much, we saw a high priority for a New Barak, as well as things like Zagara and even Tracer.
Yeah, Zagara and Tracer. It has come out a lot, actually. A lot more than I expected to with these teams. But obviously, actually, Cloud9 is in the first pick position here.
Nope, it's Brainpower who banned out the KT.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Brainpower, yeah. I was like, because this is Cloud9's map, right? Like, this is what they, every single time they play, they go, we're taking them to Sky. So I was like, interesting. My bad there. So Kel'Thas is going to be the first ban for Brainpower. Obviously, when we talk about Brainpower, when you have Glaurung, there's certain heroes we need to be worried about, which I think you can expect Cloud9 to fear. Things like Zeratul is going to be one, Illidan is going to be another, so I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to take that off the table here.
Since this is a mirror, I'm going to be trying to keep track of how close this is to the last time they played each other on Sky Temple. And already there's a slight difference. Illidan was the ban for Cloud9 in this position. Now they're taking away a New Barak.
I think they're going to Illidan, yeah, right out the gates. Now Cloud9's going to have to get a response. I think they're going to go with Tassadar and Sonya as an answer. Tassadar is almost a must-have. They need to deny that from the Illidan for the most part. And then usually Sonya, because she's one, not only pairs very well with Tassadar, but then also was one of the direct counters to Illidan themselves. I'm surprised they decided to give that up. Glaurung usually thrives when he's on those type of heroes, and they want to risk it. There you go. There's a response. Brainpower now going to go with Rhaegar because it's pretty much a must-have in this situation to pair with the Illidan.
Well, I want to take a second to give big thanks to Cybertron PC for powering this event. And Dread, you called it with the Rhaegar, but also grabbing Zagara. And again, we're seeing both of these teams, really just these two teams, favoring pulling out Broodmother.
Yeah, it is weird how high in the draft as well, right? It's not even that it shows up. It's like before the first or second ban phase. I'm very surprised to see that from these teams. Now Cloud9 needs to remove something off the table from the hands of Brainpower. They're probably going to want to pick up one of their more comfort tanks like Murden. Now that a New Barak is off the table and none of these teams can pick it, I feel like some of the more standard tanks are going to show up in this draft.
We will have to see about that, but it makes sense to ban a warrior here, further banning the potential of Sray's hero pool for who he's going to have for the warrior, because Cloud9 will have the next two picks after this set of bans.
Especially when Sray, specifically when playing with Tempo Storm for some time, was kind of known as like just a Johanna player. Like he almost felt like he only could. So if you ban the ETC, pick the Murden in the next rotation, you're going to force him onto a hero that does not complement Illidan almost at all, but then also puts it in a situation where they get a really big powerhouse, and it just puts Ray on something that a lot of people felt like he could only kind of play now that a New Barak's off.
Yeah, most teams don't really feel scared to have to face a Johanna.
Yeah, especially when wave clear doesn't matter really on this map.
Right. Brainpower has banned a Tracer, and very interesting, whenever they didn't draft her the last set versus Cloud9, they were also banning her a lot in this second time rotation. So twice they banned her versus Cloud9, and the other game they picked her up. Maybe giving us a little insight into a new favorite hero of Cloud9's.
Right, quite possibly might be there. We haven't even seen them pull it out quite yet, have we? CM has never gotten their hands on the Tracer yet, and pairing with the Tassadar. So now Cloud9, what do they want now? They are not afraid to run a double melee assassin, excuse me, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. Zagara's already going to be off the table. Tychus is up, and maybe something that they might want to do. Sylvanas as well.
I think very likely we're going to get Brightwing from them. It's Dunk Train.
Yes.
And maybe Kurazim, but with him playing and having Tassadar, they're going to get Greymane though first. They know that they can flex that support toward the end.
I always forget about Greymane somehow this entire time through these drafts. I've just been like, yeah, you know, like outside of BOE. I do like that pickup from them though. So now Brain Power, I think it's going to be the Johanna. It's Stray. All the other main tanks have pretty much been removed. So moving with a Johanna and Sylvanas is an option. I don't know how I feel about it. It can pair well with the Illidan as long as they time the Wailing Arrow, but it requires an absurd amount of teamwork.
Li Ming is also available.
Li Ming as well. Yeah, probably the Li Ming. She's great on this map. She gets a lot of poke out against a double support and a Greymane, though. It's not going to be 2 value in most situations. And most likely going to be the Brightwing here.
Yeah, especially just anyway, it's Cloud9. Dunk Train plays a lot of Brightwing, but then looking at them going up against Illidan, the potential for them to have Polymorph later on, either Criterize or Greater Polymorph, just to make sure that he is out of the fight and they can burn him down faster in that amount of time. But with Tassadar, there's a lot that's optional, right? Uther is still available if you want Divine Shield so that Greymane can be even more aggressive. Sonya too.
I prefer Uther in this situation, actually. It's going to be rough. Brightwing is going to have a hard time dealing with the poke. They go with it. Okay, I like this adjustment here coming out from Cloud9. The Brightwing isn't too appealing when you look at how much raw damage output. Uther isn't either, keep in mind. But I think far more appealing than compared to the Brightwing. Once the Poly's out, she doesn't provide too much in the healing, whereas Uther can a little bit, and also the hard CC against the Illidan as well. Post 20 or 16, being able to get the Benediction double Hammer of Justice is a great killing tool for the Illidan.
It's interesting to me that we've seen a lot of Uther players this event adapting to the changes to Hammer of Justice by going after Hardened Focus at 16 over Benediction.
I think, without a doubt, Hardened Focus is very appealing. And against Li Ming and the Zagara, there's going to be a lot of spread damage coming out for them. But I feel like they're going to be worried more about the Illidan. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's not going to be the case, largely because Illidan doesn't have a dive buddy. But that, in my opinion, that makes the single target DPS in the hard CC more appealing. Because Illidan's going to die by himself. So I'm just going to go, okay, well, he's overextended. Let's just kill him. But you're right, there has been some adaptation from a lot of these teams here, but we are going to be getting into game number 1, where Cloud9 on the left-hand side, iDream is going to be playing Sonya, K1 Pro is going to be on the Greymane, Caterpillar on the Tassadar, King Caffeine on the Murden, and Uther is going to be played by the one, the only Dunk Train.
And in the red is Brain Power with Faye playing Li Ming, Cothenluck playing Zagara, Iacona on Rhaegar, Stray playing Johanna, and Glaurung will be playing Illidan. Let's get ready for game number 1 in the rematch between Cloud9 and Brain Power.
I like that enthusiasm. Starting off right. So, already looking at level 1s, nothing is really standing out as too crazy. Both the teams kind of getting exactly what they want when it comes to talents. Zagara, most likely we're going to see sitting around the bottom half of the map. She's a great solo laner, and typically that's going to be the solo for the most part on this map because it's so far away and kind of isolated.
Who do you think will be the choice of solo laner down the bottom for Cloud9? Is Sonya or Tassadar?
I think you need Tassadar to be in the wave clear, so you're going to isolate Sonya. Sonya is better in the 1v1, I feel like. Tassadar doesn't lose lanes, but he doesn't win them either. But if you put him in a double lane in the rotations, you can make a lot happen. But look at this. Brain Power already getting a turret here on the upper half of the map. Cloud9 now responding, trying to get mid turret at their own. Both the teams are going to be taking out the front wall. Who wins this trade? Technically, slightly, it's going to actually be in favor, I'm going to argue, of Brain Power here, largely because the top shrine getting the extra shots onto the turret, whereas mid would have done that naturally. But for the most part, it's really not that big of a lead.
Yeah, I like that Cloud9, a lot of times when you see this trade out, you're trading the top for the bottom, and I like that Cloud9 went for mid, knowing that the first temple phase will be top and mid. But now here comes the engagement Ironskin used for Johanna just to start to get back, but Glaurung's in trouble. Hammer of Justice has hit him, and First Blood might be here. They're jumping in. Caffeine makes sure that Glaurung goes down.
Kato's been doing a good job rotating between the two lanes, abusing his wave clear in order to soak his two side lanes while the skirmish happens on the upper half of the map. So Cloud9 is doing a lot here. Very reactive, but I mean, being effective with the reaction. Typically, you don't want to be the team responding, always be the aggressors, but that's not going to be the case here. Iacona battling the supports out here.
They've kept this 4-man squad together, too. And now, off of getting that kill on Illidan, they went up and started putting some damage in the top lane, too. Yeah,
Tassidar's wave clear is just really good compared to most of the other supports that exist in the game, and honestly, compared to majority of the heroes, really. I mean, just look at them eat those waves alive here. Both the teams look like they're going to get the trade. Obviously, Brainpower wants to get the top one because they took out that. Meanwhile, Cloud9 wants to get the middle as well.
If Cloud9 is holding on, we could see forts going down on both sides. Both teams hitting their level 4 talents. We'll see what they're going to grab there. Just finishing off the shots, and the first fort will go down.
Yeah, and actually, K1 Pro has decided to go with the block at level 4 on the Greymane rather than going with the stealth here. Probably trying to deal with Zagara and Illidan's auto attack damage coming out from them. Now you see Brainpower trying to make a rotation to the mid lane to contest this shrine. Glaurung is 100% by himself at this point. Gets stunned by the Hammer of Justice. He is the friend of foe. He will be able to survive, but that was very close.
Now they're trying to get into more of a fight here in the top. They've brought everybody up from the bottom lane too, so there's nobody split soaking, nobody just trying to stall out the fights. But Iacona is going to go up to the top because they went down and got into the fight around mid after they got the fort. There's still some shots left on this temple, but rotation still, they were slowing it down. You see Stray watching to see if anybody's going to try to go up there, and that allows Rhaegar to finish off that top temple.
Yeah, I do like this. Both these teams seem to be playing this map, which we almost always see Cloud9 just play so very calculated. Brainpower is kind of, I feel like they're dictating the pace of the game, right? They don't have a major lead by any means, but they are playing the standard. All right, we're going to hang out in lanes a little bit. All right, we might play the solo shrine. Somebody say bottom. We might make the rotation. It's like, we're taking this front wall. We're taking this front wall. We're going to take this forward. And it's been a counter response, but I feel like I like it just largely because Cloud9 does so well on this map that not letting them play exactly what they expect might be something that comes to their advantage later on.
Well, something we talk about is the fact that these two teams are scrim partners.
Yes.
So if anything, they're probably going to know how Cloud9 likes to play this, and they're getting aggressive, going in, trying to steal these giants, maybe even looking for a pick here.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to be able to steal the giant camp here, but meanwhile, Zagara is having a hard time in the top lane. That is going to be one dead. Zagara there on the upper half of the map. Now Cloud9 will be able to secure the rest of that front wall. But it looks like Brainpower will be able to get a little bit of damage on the bottom wall as well, so it's not like any team is gaining too large of an advantage.
It's been pretty crazy between these two how much they've been focused on structures.
Yeah.
Really making sure that they're trading out and knowing exactly how long it will take and what's going to be more advantageous. Whether the rotation all the way up from the bottom to the top is going to be better, or if they should just try to take out some structures in preparation for the second temple phase.
Yeah, and Brainpower is now going to be locking in that giant camp. The shrine will be spawning around the 430, 440 mark. It was a little slower than normal, so maybe a little bit past that, but they'll be able to time this giant camp with that and get a decent amount of pressure. Iacona is the only one in the upper half of the map trying to get the clear as best he can, but that is going to struggle.
Yeah, he's a 1v1ing a Sonya, which is not the most fun in the world, but he's slowly going to burn down those bruisers and get them down for at least the bottom temple phase.
Yeah, and it's actually a bigger advantage than maybe most people realize, because Rhaegar's not going to make this rotation in time at all. He's winning, he's losing the top lane, so he's going to lose the fort if he stays here. If he backs out, he's still going to lose the fort, but he has to make the rotation to the bottom half of the map. Essentially, this is a win-win situation when it comes to the rotational advantage for Cloud9.
The one thing that Brainpower have, at least, is that their giants are buying them some time in that bottom lane to try to get into position. But Cloud9, King Caffeine has gone down into the bottom one, and Iacona is going to have to back just to run down.
Yeah, that was a really good job slamming the sidewall and getting the splash damage onto Iacona, forcing him not to be able to back here. And they're still going head-to-head in the upper lane. Meanwhile, Glaurung is going to try and make the rotation. They aren't even going to bait it here. That is a really, it's just a rough situation. Cloud9 is winning just everywhere on the map right now.
They take one person away too, which means Cloud9 feels even more comfortable being down here. But Tassadar started to go up too, wants to make sure that there's some shielding and that iDream is safe for those rotations. Dungchain's taking some damage, and finally Stray pushes off the members of Cloud9 from this temple. They are so close in experience.
Yeah, Glaurung was in the skirmish in the mid lane. It looked like he was having a bit of struggle to be able to deal with that. Meanwhile, Iacona is going to be stunned out. No follow-up is going to be able to secure the kill, but the rest of the shrine looking like it's in the hands of Cloud9, especially since they get 10. Great force wall going on to Stray. Glaurung is skirmishing, but keep in mind, Brainpower is not 10 yet.
Yeah, they're trying to get those minions so they can get them, and now heroic abilities pop back up for them too, and they're going to immediately try to go for the fight. Disintegrate comes out Paddle Pillar will dimensional shift away, and iDream also trying to get back out so they can regroup and get back into position. But King Caffeine is fairly low in health. The Blessed Shield comes out, Divine Shield as well, to allow K1 Pro to get aggressive, but they weren't able to get a kill through all of those heroics.
Yeah, all the health pools on the side of Cloud9 have slowly withered away. Meanwhile, Garong is looking rather healthy when he gets on the Shrine. These shots aren't going to be that valuable, really. They're only getting the rest of that turret, but was a minor victory for them that I didn't expect them to be able to take quite yet. Caffeine will leap out over the wall, and these teams are almost, again, uneven footing. Structurally, we do see every fort does stand still on the side of Brainpower, barely in mid. You could pretty much look at it and it would fall. And only one fort going to be falling for Cloud9. So Brainpower actually winning this game so far.
Yeah, just a slight structure lead for them. But one thing to keep in mind is that fight was pretty long. And as these long fights continue, Cloud9 with double support, they're going to have a bit of an easier time with that. But there's a lot of poke damage for Brainpower, and especially if they can get a good Devouring Maw, separate out the team, then that might be their way that they're able to get the picks and start leaming on her resets.
Yeah, it's a really rough spot for Uther and Tassadar. Yes, you are a double support composition, but you aren't necessarily the best into a Leeming and a Zagara on your opponent's side. The amount of poke, if they are be able to maximize the Triumvirate coming out at level 4, and then obviously Zag just has great spread damage, they're going to be in a pretty spot. But if the fight happens rather quickly and Brainpower obviously just gets stun locked out, single target dies, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, both really want to find at least a kill very quickly. But now they are rotating around and getting back in, keeping experience and keeping the pressure in the lane. And there's going to be a fight in the mid. Dimensional Shift has been used. There's no prescience yet, but he does use the Force Wall. And Glowring's going to jump away, seeing everyone else rotate in.
Yeah, I like this choice from Calf, actually. He's soaking the top lane without clearing it, and what that's doing, essentially removing an entire lane of soak for Brainpower. They just missed an entire wave because they can't risk that kind of positioning, right? So he's just getting the soak for his team, but denying it from his opponents just because he doesn't want to clear.
Brainpower grabbing their bruisers. They know the next temple phase is starting up pretty soon. Li Ming was escorting the Giants here in the bottom, just trying to make sure that they can get some more damage onto that fort, and not only get some experience potentially from a structure going down, but even just remove the amount of shots needed to take it out.
All right, so a double shrine is going to spawn. Both are pretty even in value. The middle one is going to be important on who controls site, which for now is in the hands of Brainpower. They've shown that they're on the upper half of the map, clearing out the night camp. There's no Merc pressure for either team in advantage, so it's all going to come down to who controls vision and who hits 13 first. Cloud9 is technically closer at this point. And getting the shots here will get them a little bit closer over their opponents as well. I'm
amazed at how close these teams have kept this game so far. Yes, there are 2 kills to nothing, but both are hitting 13 now. Faye dodges the Stormbolt from King Caffeine long enough that now they have the level 13 and can maybe get into a fight. Glaurung is up here. They need the rest of them to rotate in.
Yeah, and actually one thing to keep in mind for this next team fight as well, Faye did decide to go with Glass Cannon here, so her positioning is going to be very important here. If she's out a little bit, Greymane will be able to get the reset off her. Meanwhile, Glaurung is going to be probably babied by Icona, so she's going to be kind of off on her own for the most part. Glaurung, though, getting forced out, walled out and isolated from his team.
They're still just trying to find a place in here. The Temple Guardians were blocking some of the orbs from Faye, so they really didn't even get that much for poke damage. But one great thing for Brainpower is Bruisers have been pushing in the top lane, and they've taken out one tower and are working on a second.
Yeah, it's actually forcing a resource draw from Cloud9. K1 Pro goes to clear them, so now they're going to be giving up a majority of the shots on the bottom half of the map for a short period of time. That's going to even out the forts for the time being. Meanwhile, the aggression onto iDream right now, getting a lot of DPS, forcing the Divine Shield, but Glaurung is going to get the meta and the Ancestral.
He's going in for iDream. They've already used Divine Shield. They're going to turn around onto King Caffeine and blow him up too. A quick 2 for nothing for Brainpower.
Yeah, and that will be able to get a boss, instantly making the rotation. Great shot calling coming out from Brainpower, not hesitating a single moment. They do not have the mod to be a great zoning tool, but it's not going to matter when you don't have 2 members on your team. They're going to be able to secure the fort as well, gaining more value out of the shots and the boss. This is a great position to be in if you are Brainpower.
It was such good decision making. They knew that those minions would take out the fort, which means the boss will go to keep. There is a temple available, but by making sure the fort goes down first, that temple is going to attack the mid fort, the final fort for Cloud9.
Yeah, and this is just going to be a great position. I would actually hold off on the shots a little bit longer, clear out the mid fort. I mean, it's minor min-maxing at this point, right? Like, why take the risk at this level of competitive play? I understand why they are deciding to go with that. So now they are already knocking on the front keep wall for the bottom half of the map. This is just a beautiful position for Brainpower. Cloud9 is remaining in pretty even levels in XP because they've done a great job of soaking, but now they're losing in structure advantage. They're just in, I mean, it was a pretty big momentum swing for them.
Yeah, Brainpower got out into all of the lanes pretty fast too, which is why we see Johanna up in the top, and she can always clear that out pretty fast with Knight takes pawn, and now Brainpower are going to get 16, slightly ahead of Cloud9. Not sure if that's going to be large enough for them to really find a big team fight off of that, but at least it's good to know that they have that for the next fight.
Yeah, and they're getting a small skirmish here. Glowing trying to make something happen with their only short and temporary 16 advantage. Ray actually with the flank, very aggressive. Cattle is going to pop his second E here. He will be going down if they get the damage onto him. That, whoa, forcing the D shield here, but iDream.
Meta! Oh, the meta kill! He takes that out. iDream, he's going after him too. Ancestral healing, though, has to bring iDream back up, or Glowing back up, and he's going to go right back into action. K1 Pro is in so much trouble. He tries to disengage, but doesn't get it, and Uther drops too. iDream now gets hit by a Disintegrate. The Leeming resets are real, and they can't even take out Glowing. King Caffeine jumping away for his life.
Yeah, and he's going to be going down as well. They don't have a keep quite yet, so they aren't going to be able to end the game, but normally they would be able to. I'm afraid that they might try and they're actually going to be able to game here. They're going to go straight for court. There's no way they can stop this. Tassadar's the only one up. Illidan's one of the best guys on the core ever in the game. So, like, Tassadar, yeah, you have a shield, but what's that mean to an Illidan, essentially? That is going to be game. Brainpower with one convincing team fight on their opponent's half of the map, just with beautiful lack of, like, no hesitation in their shot calling, just dominate the second half of that game.
Dread, that 16 to 15 window was so small.
Yes,
I cannot believe they found a spot to fight there. But that was huge. They were able to get the fight, get kills in the amount of time they had 16 talents over Cloud9, and then use Leeming resets to get a team wipe and win the game so fast.
Yeah, I know. I mean, one thing to really point out is, especially when it comes to that fight, hopefully we're going to have it in a replay here, but we're going to take a few minutes to appreciate. Yeah, this fight, it's all about Sray. That fight would not have happened if Sray didn't have absurdly aggressive positioning, going to lock the Blessed Shield here right before in time, and then guess what? That's going to be a Meta over the wall. And then another thing to appreciate here is the minute Glorung's in trouble, everyone's on the sidewall. That sidewall is ready for him to get out in case he needs. They go, actually, that's going to be the case. We're going to get some more resets here. K1 Pro is just going to be putting that puppy down, sadly, and everybody's going to be falling.
That Earthgrass Totem, too, from Iacona, making sure that Greymane couldn't get away. And that means that Brainpower are now one game away from eliminating Cloud9 from this regional.
I mean, gosh, it almost feels like Dignitas in Europe not even making it out of the group stages. That's going to be the case. It's just, oh man, Cloud9 has a lot they need to make adjustments. They just lost on their home territory. Not only did they lose to Brainpower again, but they just lost on the map that they are very, very dominant in.
At a LAN.
At a LAN. This, oh man, this is scary.
It's crazy, and they already did try to make adjustments.
Yes.
Looking at what happened on Sky Temple in the last time, that was the map that Cloud9 won versus Brainpower the last time they faced off. But this time, they changed. They banned Anubarak instead of banning Illidan, but Brainpower still, even with Illidan, not having a Tassadar, but still having Rhaegar, were able to make that happen.
Yeah, I really feel like that was a panic decision to be able to ban the Anub over the Illidan when you know Glorung is very famed for being on heroes like Zeratul, like Illidan. Cloud9 just seems scared in a lot of situations, even first banning out the Illidan in this type of situation because they realize they need to be able to deny the Anubarak that they are so fearful of so far in the series.
A first ban Illidan kind of reminds me of Team Dignitas as well.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's because they legitimately can't play him. They never played him ever, whereas you've seen Cloud9 bring it on the past. But you are right; it's a very common trend when it comes to Dignitas. All right, so Brainpower now. Look at Glorung, man. You can tell he's one of the main drafters for the team. He is very heavily thinking about this situation, what they need to be able to do to be able to win this game. What I think I'd like to see in this situation with Illidan already going to be off the table, they are worried about giving up the Anubarak, but honestly, I'd let Cloud9 have it. I feel like a lot of the teams are kind of panicked about it. You've seen Cloud9 already showing it. I feel like that's 100% they're going to first pick it and just be able to deal with it, really. If they ban it, I think Cloud9 will pick the, like, maybe Li Ming is going to be high value, or Rhaegar ban. Wow. I actually love that.
So with, what is exactly that you like so much about it?
So essentially what they're saying, Rhaegar without a doubt is the best healer in the game, right? So Brainpower only is going to have essentially 2 picks. But they don't feel like with what they're going to be giving up to Cloud9, because there's so many things that these teams exactly want, that Rhaegar fits in their only 2 slots, but it does fit in Cloud9's. It's not going to be first pick worthy, but it's not their first rotation either. They're going to deny it and not have to worry about it in the second phase. I was actually talking with Kalaris before that I think Rhaegar actually would be an ideal first ban, because he's not worth first picking, but he is worth second picking in some situations. But instead going with Illidan off the table, it's essentially the same thing. This is really interesting to see play out.
And it also left up both Tassadar and Kael'thas available. Yep. So they knew they would get at least one of them. And with Cloud9 first picking a new Barak, they get both of them.
Yeah, and so they're going to pick KT and the TAS. Now Cloud9 I feel like they're going to be denying a Sonya, either whether it be here or in their second ban phase. They don't want to give up the TAS Sonya, especially with Kael'thas. They're going to have a lot of poke, a lot of DPS coming out from them. The pairing is very good, and it also can just kind of demolish a new Barak when he overextends a little bit in the front line.
So what, with Rhaegar off the table, do they go Sonya Uther then here?
Sonya, it's as if they want. They can still go with a Thrall. I've been surprised with how low a value he's been. Also, Cloud9 has just seemed to very highly prioritize Zagara, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go with that. I mean, my version of this draft compared to theirs is probably really different from one another, so.
Well, with seeing Kael'thas picked up too, teams have to be wondering, especially Cloud9, if Li Ming ban could come in from Brainpower too. So if they really want to make sure that they have a high bursty mage like that, that might be another thing that they have to take into mind.
They go with the Uther. They are very afraid of it. They've shown in the past they're afraid of the support choke. I am surprised. They go with both to deny. I'm surprised. I think a lot of teams are underestimating the power of Karzim in North America for a majority of them. Brainpower is now going to be moving on to the Zeratul, so I think Cloud9 is going to worry about that and try and ban that out for them. I feel like there's no way they let this through. You just let Illidan go in the hands of Glaurung. You're afraid of it. You're not going to let him get another hero he's known for on a map that is debatably Zeratul's best map.
Right. I think we'll likely see that. There is a Li Ming ban from Brainpower, but still Cloud9 could maybe get Greymane there if they want to have a hero that they want to pair up with the Sonya for damage. But Cloud9 working on their ban. They do have a warrior and Brainpower don't. They tried to restrict the pool that Stray could choose from, but it didn't work out for them last time. Johanna was fine for them.
Yeah, he played it very, very well. And they go with the Tracer instead, giving up a lot because they're afraid of the Tracer Tassadar. So interesting how this meta has developed in North America recently here. So now Brainpower actually going with the Tyrande. One of her better maps, because one of their better maps, but I don't know if I like this choice. That they decide to go with such a straightforward style of play when Cloud9 is already struggling with some of the other things they're doing. They will obviously have large kill potential when it comes to the Anu Barak if he overextends it all. But again, I feel like there were a lot of other options they could have gone with here. It just typically, when you think about it, we haven't seen any of these absurdly straightforward comps have had almost little to no success.
Right.
Like, you cannot be a one-trick pony when it comes to your approach to a team fight, or teams going to adapt it. And I think that's what we'll see Cloud9 do. I wouldn't even be surprised if they pull out Rexar, honestly.
One nice thing, though, with having Tassadar Tyrande is Brainpower can delay a tribute pickup for days. They have so many ways of being able to do that. Falstad is one of the last heroes for Cloud9. It's a larger map, so he can fly around into team fights when he's needed, but also make sure that he's maximizing their ability to soak lanes. Now, who is the last one that they will grab? Sylvanas is still available, not necessarily needed as much as on some other battlegrounds.
I don't actually know at this point. Zagara as well is going to be up for them. I don't know how much they fear the ETC Tyrande kill potential that exists, and if they want to go with somebody a little bit beefier. I feel like when Cloud9's always got their back against the wall, they always go with the things that are like unorthodox and try to pull the win from there.
Well, like Rexar?
Yeah, like, I don't know if it fits in this comp though. I want to say that it doesn't, but at the same time, I guess I don't even know the parameters in which I call Rexar good in a comp outside of with Tyrande. Murky instead. Okay. There it is. All right, so some kind of adjustment is what they like to bring out when everything is on the line here. They're going to go with the, I'm guessing it's going to be an Octo Gust style of play because they lack the cleanse with the double support that they picked. They picked a double pseudo, so it's going to be a rough position for them. All right, this is where Brainpower just picks. You pick DPS Karzim, but then you take cleanse as 7. See, I mean, problem solved.
Or Zeratul.
I mean, I feel like that was pretty expected coming out from them when they let it go through the second ban phase. So.
Dread, it's time to go egg hunting.
It's time.
Are you ready for an adventure?
We aren't Lily hunting, we are egg hunting. But yes, I am ready for said adventure. Oh, man. All right, so how do you feel about these drafts?
Well, there's a murky, so I'm at least entertained.
Okay.
That's my thought. What has been crazy to me is this constant back and forth ban on Tracer between the two of them.
Yes.
Obviously, she is highly contested between the two of these teams when they face off together. Anubarak, so important between both of them too. But Glau has Zeratul. But there's no cleanse, right? Like it's just how the team fights, I guess, go down.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it's going to come down to Murky, and I personally, I mean, I've said this every single time. I think he's one of the most undervalued heroes in all of competitive play. I do like the pickup coming out from them, especially with the lack of cleanse on the side of Brainpower. But again, it's Glarong on the Zeratul. I want to know if he's going to go kind of the Korean SCSC build, where he decides to go with the Gathering Power, because Murky's going to be an easy kill potential, then moving towards like the Ren and Cleave. I don't want to see it, but it is an option here.
Where's his Falstad though? Vorpal?
Yeah, no, that's what
really
I'm saying. Yeah, the Vorpal is obviously not only there. I just feel, I personally feel like it's too one-trick pony again when you're like, oh, I have to get the stacks, otherwise my damage is significantly struggling.
Right.
But it is one of the few options for it here in this game.
It seems like we saw that for a while, but as SCSC started to struggle with it, we also started to struggle with it and used it a lot less. But we are ready for game number 2. Here is Cloud9 in the blue with iDream playing Murky, K1 Pro on Falstad, Caterpillar playing Sonya, King Caffeine on Anubarak, and Dunk Train will be playing Uther.
And for Brainpower, we're going to have Faye on the Kael'thas, Cthulhu Luck on Tyrande, Iacona is on the Tassadar, Sray will be playing the ETC, and of course, Glarong is on the Zeratul.
So get excited and make some noise, because we're ready for game number 2 on Cursed Hollow.
Tournament on the line here for this team. Already like the burrow over the gate there, getting a little bit of the bug back and forth. Get it? It's a bug because he's going back.
Oh no!
Nailed it. Stat padding also coming out from Tyrande here. Brainpower getting the owl already. Top in the DPS chart, so it's going to be about the only time you probably see that in this matchup. Wow. 64%. How they lose faith in their champions so quickly.
We want to hear who you guys think are going to win, so make sure you tweet using the hashtag HGC. But the teams are heading out into the lanes. And yeah, I think you talked about how much the Murky will come into play, how important that will be. And it's really, I think, going to be a Murky if he can find the picks and they can get the Octograb and the Mighty Gust. Or if Glau can first find a really great Void Prison, because there's a lot of spots that you find people grouped up on Cursed Hollow. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of wombo combo potential as well when you look at Void and obviously the Mosh Pit. But you have a triple Gravity Lapse is going to be an option. ETC Tyrande are going to have decent skirmishing, and again, the delay that they have. But delay doesn't really matter when there's a Murky, because he will always win that war every single time. Absolutely. We're starting to get into the fight. Murky is up in the top lane. And in the bottom lane, there is quite a few people from Brainpower with only Cattle here. So they're going to start to push this wave and maybe try to, if they can't get the pick onto Sonya, at least start taking down some of the towers. Yeah, they're trying to bait him out a little bit here, see if he overextends. They haven't shown anywhere on the map, so you're going to see Cattle be very, very safe here. Iacona, traditionally, as a Tassadar, you'd push very heavily, and his patience here, in my opinion, just says, guess what? They're trying to gank right now. Yeah, for sure. The rotation was cool, though. Yeah, the rotation was out of Fog of War. They realized, hey, with Tassadar not pushing, guess what? So telling of the gank there was a little bit of the problem now, and Cloud9 is going to say, hey, yep, they've shown on bottom, we can push on top. Both teams wanted to go for the gank. Neither got the kill, but Cloud9 is faring better out of this. They lose Murky, not too big of a deal, but they get a lot of damage on towers, whereas Brainpower really didn't have the capacity to do that. Yeah, K1 Pro getting caught out a little bit. He's going to instantly fly as well back. I like that. Guys, give me a second. I got to reposition. But he goes back here, and Glarong, as always, is looking for the kills wherever he can. The ETC Tyrande is not going to be that effective on some of the larger maps like this because the rotations usually are just so straightforward, right? Most of them are not going to be all right here, but you see K1 Pro very fearful. The Owl coming out as well, showing that they are down below. K1 Pro is going to be all right. Barrel rolling, even without the stun coming out, so he's zoned from XP a little bit. Normally when iDream plays Murky, the rare times that we get it, it's the egg build, or the egg talent, not the egg talent, the safety bubble talent at level 1. This time he picked Assault Egg. Yeah, and I think that's because he's fearful of the Zeratul. I mean, it buys more time out of him. He can't just dive
onto your, he can't just dive onto your egg and get the kill for free. He risks a lot more with that because of the health pool there. So now the first shrine is good, or excuse me, oh my goodness, words are hard. We're gonna have the first tribute here. I got it, nailed it. Meanwhile, Cloud9 is gonna fall at the worst like possible scenario for them, but BP is gonna be able to actually get that. That was exactly what they needed there to be able to get that, even with Cloud9 dying in the mid lane. So the tribute will be going over to Brainpower.
Cloud9 is going for a Sentinel build again, so of course we have Pierce to try to make sure that nobody can block the Sentinels when they're trying to zone and get the tributes. I can't think of tribute either, man.
I mean, tribute is,
it's a tough word.
It is a tough word.
Here comes K1 Pro with the fly.
Trying to get a little bit of harass.
Yeah, Faye is just being so cautious here, knowing that there is always the potential for that. Gravity Labs is going to hit K1 Pro, but with 3 people here, Faye might not have a gate to stay safe behind.
Yeah, and the Giants are going to be picked up now for Brainpower. That's going to be not totally timed with the Shrine, or Tribute. The Tribute did spawn on the bottom half of the map, but we don't know where the next Tribute is going to be up until the next one spawns. So it could be anywhere. If it's on the upper half of the map, it will be a slight advantage, but Sonya can clear those rather quickly. So for the most part, it's just teams smashing each other's front walls. iDream being the annoying murky that he can be in the top lane, taking out the front wall already into Boss.
Yeah, both teams have been really trying to make something like this happen. A Power Slide goes down with the Hunter's Mark and Lunar Flare, and they do finally find a pick with this roaming ETC Tyrande gank squad. But both of these teams have been trying to rotate back and forth, finding one of these, and it's been pretty slow. And if they don't get it, they go after a tower in that lane with the more people that are in it.
Yeah, so this is going to be a free tribute for Brainpower with Uther dying in the mid lane because they didn't commit too many resources, and it was very timely with the spawn. Now that is going to be 2 tributes for Brainpower. The Giants from both teams pushing really, but they aren't going to gain too much value. So overall, Brainpower is very convincingly winning this game so far.
They're going to throw damage on iDream, but he is murky. Still does give a little bit of experience if you can take him out, though. He'll be able to get away with his safety bubble. Tyrande picking up Lunar Blaze, not getting her Lunar Momentum. The change in that, forcing out, or even just getting Lunar Blaze anyway, gives you a lot more range with it, so you can follow up if ETC dives in pretty far with the Power Slide.
Both the teams just dancing around here. Giant Camp is going to be taken out by Brainpower. Night Camp is going to be started by Sonya for Cloud9. It's not going to be in time to be able to get this, and it's scouted out by the Tyrande Owl. So because Cattle's staying on this, the Brainpower knows. They 100% know the rotation is coming here, so they're expecting Murky's going to be able to delay long enough that they're not going to give up this curse, or they're volunteering to give it up. They're volunteering to give it up. Falstead staying on the bottom half of the map. No, that's not going to be the case. Actually, he is going to be flying up. Murky's going to go down here, so they are going to try and make the rotation here. Maybe a little greedy from Cloud9, and the combo coming out in the new Barak. He doesn't. He double spams the burrow. He might be going down in this situation. Both teams are very even in XP, though.
Oh, there's a pufferfish down. Not sure if they got hit by them, but they do once again take out Murky and Brainpower, getting pretty close to their heroic abilities. And they have a free curse. There is not a situation where once they're done with this curse, Cloud9 have any tributes at all. So it's a great feeling for them, and they could start trying to get whatever siege they can. But they're also really making sure that they get heroic abilities well in time of Cloud9.
In the mid lane, there is going to be a skirmish, though. Cleanse coming out onto Cattle, trying to keep him alive. Level 10 is picked up for Brainpower, and they burn it right there. Moshpit coming out onto Uther. Really good job. They need to be efficient with their kills because they do have a curse up here. They need to make sure that they push as best as they possibly can. Meanwhile, Icona on the bottom half of the map is getting pressure as well. But one thing I really want to point out when it came to that last skirmish is that, to me, it felt like tilt. That burrow, like the response getting very greedy with the timings of the camps. It just felt like Cloud9 normally would deal with the situation, just be like, all right, guys, we messed up on our timing. Just give it up. It's okay. It's all right. It wasn't ideal. But with how all that kind of played out, it felt very tilty to me. And now already, again, the aggression here coming on to Caffeine. He does have the Vorpal Blade, goes in there. He's going to have a blink as well. I don't think he's going to survive. Yeah, that's going to be Caffeine going down. Even burning Locust Swarm, 100-second cooldown. Again, feels kind of tilty to me.
Yeah, they are going to use VP to make sure that I guess, doesn't attack them, the fort. And then they're using Starfall Caterpillar going in, trying to get the kill, but still they can't get one on Cawthon. K1 Pro is pinging, looking for a Mighty Gust, comes out, and now they're still just trying to even just get Brainpower away from them. Gravity Labs doesn't connect, and Brainpower are going to move away. They did get one fort with that curse, and they got a lot of kills too.
Yeah, but it wasn't nearly as effective as the curse I feel like should have been. They weren't very efficient. But again, with the Tyrande struggling a little bit in the wave clear department, they didn't get too much to happen trying to siege and soak all the lanes at once. Cloud9 actually is almost even in XP here, which is not what you want to see, especially after a curse and the kill lead that they have over their opponents. But again, it might not have been ideal, but it just feels like Cloud9 a little panicked in some of their decision-making here. No bosses are being postured around for either of the teams. They seem to just be taking the giant camps and rotating around, getting pressure on the map.
Cattle and King Caffeine had gone up for a gank on Tyrande earlier in the top lane, but her being able to juke the Impale meant that he couldn't jump on in time and get the Octo grab. So they've been trying to get that, but I think Brainpower have been doing a really good job of insta-focusing iDream. Whenever they see him, they just take him down. They don't even want the option of Octo grab, grabbing somebody in the back line.
Yeah, they have done a really good job so far at that, but Murky hasn't been kind of in his optimal situation yet because they've never really kind of contested any of the tributes. That's what Murky thrives at.
Right.
He's had the harassment in his solo lane, but outside of that, people have just been getting picked so much that it didn't really matter. Meanwhile, Glaurung is under a little bit of pressure here. Nubarak has burnt a lot of cooldowns to try and get onto him. Cattle does have things. He blinks the opposite direction, gets the wormhole here. He stealths up, dodges it, dodges another. Nobody has any reveal.
My
no one has reveal.
They're still pinging him. They're going to burrow charge in, and that does reveal Glaurung. He blinks in, and that will finally get the kill on him. But he wasted quite a lot of time.
Enough
Look
to
what
get a
Brainpower are doing.
I'm going to say that's probably worth. They do lose this tribute for sure, but they're probably going to try and take a boss. With Tyrande, ETC, they do have the ability to do that with only a kill toss. It might be a little greedy, though, since Zeratul with Void is not going to be up quite yet. Meanwhile, their opponents are taking boss Cloud9, and they're panic rotating here. Brainpower, no, okay, they're going for mid-4 instead. That makes a lot more sense. I thought they were going to try and force that.
Egg is down.
Egg is down.
Egg is down, force wall not letting Murky get away, and that's a full kill on iDream.
That was really big for them, getting that kill in that time. So now that boss is not going to be nearly as effective. Cattle also maybe getting caught out here. Gravity Lapse is going to miss. And the cleanse over the wall to keep him alive, not going to matter.
Phoenix will get another kill for Brainpower. We're looking at 5 kills to 2. A boss in the bottom lane, but Brainpower seem keen and okay with giving it up for now, letting the towers do a lot of damage to it, just now getting Glaurung there. But even with this, with getting the boss in the bottom lane, Brainpower are the ones who are going to be able to pick up the tribute.
I mean, I don't even want to sound like a broken record. It just, like, how you're in a situation where you get the kill on your opponent, the tribute's going to spawn, you take the boss, and you lose 2 people. This is not, I feel like this is not the normal Cloud9 that we see, that they never had their tournament life on the line outside of the grand finals, almost ever. And so it feels like something is kind of switched inside when it comes to the individual decision making.
You also have to consider the fact that Brainpower, who for so long weren't able to beat Cloud9, finally able to do so. It's like that it's relief. Knowing that you can take them out. You could almost just play differently because of it.
No, I do. Your morale is insanely higher. Definitely getting pumped with every single kill that you get, putting the momentum into your team's favor here, especially knowing that your opponent has a boss down already, and it really did pretty much nothing. Meanwhile, if you get a small victory, you can push yours and maybe get something to happen, especially that you're winning in tributes. K1 Pro, aggressive flight on bottom, not going to matter because Glaurung is already mounted up and away.
Yeah, they found iDream. They want to get that Murky down so they don't have to worry about him octo-grabbing someone like Tyrande in the back. If they don't do it, they still have so much vision to see how the setup is going to be around here. Everything is up. Void Prison is a potential. They're stalling this out until they can find somebody in the right position to strike.
Yeah, this is... The Cloud9 has to take this fight. Well, the Void actually hits nothing over there. Meanwhile, iDream is going to be going down.
Yep, there he goes down. One more strike. Maybe they can get him. Okay, so no Murky for a few seconds. That feels okay. Starfall instantly comes out, and they're going for it. The Gravity Lapse picks up Dunk into so much damage. Living Bomb gets a kill on Uther.
Yeah, and the egg actually, Murky is replacing his egg because he knew it was going to be revealed in the rest of this team fight. Great Force Wall.
Force Wall so good, but what can they do off of it? iDream is back into the fight, and they still have Octo Grab.
Oh, but K1 Pro gets caught out. That's going to be it for him. He will be going down here. This is looking ugly, and the double mosh. There is no interrupt at all. Both of these will be falling down at this point, and that's going to be another tribute going in their favor. Glaurung is maybe getting caught out a little bit here, but he's going to just smash the beetles and the egg, getting it there. Oh man, there is so much going on for Brainpower right now. They did double tribute, huge minion wave pushing up there. They have 16 tier advantage over their opponents, and a boss is still available. Oh man, this is going to be rough. If they do manage to win the next team fight, it most likely is going to lead to another curse, and then mostly go boss play afterwards. And now the bosses are slowly scaling to have enough power to be really effective. in this match.
9 kills, yeah, 9 kills to 2, more than a level lead with level 16 talents here for Brainpower. And if they want to, they could potentially go up to that boss. They haven't even shown interest in getting it yet, even though Cloud9 were down on theirs. They seem much more apt and keen just to make sure that they are constantly staying out and keeping their lanes pushed and working off of those curses.
Yeah, and now the boss are checking to make sure it's not happening here with 16-tier advantage. Falset is scouted out on the bottom half of the map. Tribute is going to be spawning relatively soon, and Cloud9 is grasping for 16.
It makes sense that Brainpower would be not too interested in going after the boss versus Falstad, but that is great positioning for Brainpower. They've once again seen iDream. They're more than happy to use a force wall to take him out.
And just to touch up on why this is such a good tribute is essentially that even if Cloud9 takes this fight, if they lose this fight, it's a free boss and then a tribute, essentially min-maxing your curse time as effectively as possible. Iacona is going to get delayed by iDream here, but if this fight goes in favor of Brainpower, this is going to hurt Cloud9.
iDream is so far in the back line away from the team. He just gets taken out, and that's a few more seconds where he has to respawn and get back in here versus Brainpower, and that's time where Brainpower can try to be more aggressive.
Yeah, and his egg positioning is very passive actually around his vision. Meanwhile, Faye is actually very out of position, but the Guts happening to get the isolation. No Octograb is going to be available, and Locust Swarm is burned.
Yeah, they are so separated from the rest, though. Stray goes down, and Glaurung's in trouble thanks to this Locust Swarm. The rest of the members being zoned out by iDream. He finally gets his Octograb. It just gets taken out instantly from Tassadar and Tyrande.
Yeah, so Cloud9 will be able to win this fight. It doesn't look like there's going to be any more kills going down there. This is their first tribute. They are going to be able to get a boss off of this as well. Starting it right away, there's nobody going to be able to contest this for now. Giants are going to get actually a lot of value down here, considering the situation. Nobody's going to back to be able to defend them. So Cloud9 now finally showing signs of life in this match.
A Ranger Sentinel going in, doing some damage, but importantly also showing that Cloud9 are indeed at that boss. Nothing to do though still with 13 seconds until Zeratul up, and that'll be boss up at going to the top fort still. So there's a long way to go before they're even at a keep in that top lane.
Yeah, Murky is now back in to clear the Giants. They did get almost the front wall and half the turrets kind of there. So now this boss is going to lock down that fort, and Cloud9's catching up in experience because of the structure. Their boss as well have now spawned. I do think they're going to go look to get onto that. Void Prison's not going to be up for 15 seconds. This is risky. Positionally right now, because so many people have shown top, I'm surprised that BP has not rotated faster. I feel like Zeratul would have been lingering in this type of situation, but they decide to play the patient game here from Brainpower.
Maybe it is just the fact that they have forts still in those lanes, that they're okay, and they'd rather get their level 20s than worry about trying to contest at that boss. But with the boss comes a tribute. The tribute's up top. People from Cloud9 still need to go all the way up to that top lane, but they should be able to get there in time.
Yeah, they're going to give up the tribute. Almost 100% here. I don't think Zeratul might stay around, try and get a pick there or delay a little bit, but it is risky. Essentially, this is a situation where it's just not worth for Brainpower. Even if they go there and win the tribute, they lose a little bit, and they aren't going to be able to gain that much because they have to clear the boss. So they're going to play more of the safe game, wait it out, and let their opponents catch up not only in XP, but also catch up when it comes to structures here. You see them posturing to take the top keep front wall. Really heads-up rotation coming out from Cloud9.
Now that Cloud9 have their 16 talents too, they get a lot more annoying. They have Nerves of Steel, which makes it harder to take out Sonya. Rejuvenating Bubble too, which means, as you can see, iDream is healing back up when going into safety bubble. So that is going to help him be a lot more annoying. But Power Slide and a Force Wall equals Murky Death.
is that caster math? Equals Murky Death? Nailed it. All right. So these teams now both 2 tributes. The next one really could be game-ending depending on how successful it goes for one team or the other. Neither has any major boss to be looking towards for some time. A lot of it's going to come down to how well iDream is going to be able to make something happen. But the isolation from the Gust in the last team fight really hurt Brainpower.
Again, it's iDream and Glaurung. If they can get a good Void Prison. There's the one Void Prison that didn't hit anything. They want to make sure to do that. The egg placement in advance.
Scouted.
Oh, it was in advance knowing that this would be the tribute position, but now Stray is going after this egg. Gravity Lapse goes in. They don't hit it. They do hit with the Lunar Flare, but this egg is so tanky. Finally, they'll take it out.
By the way, the Dunk Train did a really good job actually healing it to make sure that it doesn't go down for his team here. But meanwhile, Falstad, you see K1 Pro with aggressive positioning, looking to try and get some kind of power gust onto his opponents. Giants are pushing, so Cloud9's probably going to try and delay as best they can. And Glaurung is also nowhere to be found when it comes to the tribute. Very out of position for his team right now.
He was in the bottom lane with the Giants too, maybe doing a little soaking, but now he's back up to this. The power of the flanks for both sides. If they can get an Octo grab and K1 Pro can isolate the rest of the team with a big mighty gust. Murky though is already down, and King Caffeine is burrow charging in, gets the Divine Shield, and Void Prison hits Sonya. Coffin Luck in trouble in that positioning, even Shrink Ray hitting her too, but still somehow had not been killed yet. But now with the burrow charge back in, they've taken out Iacona, Tyrande, and Tassadar down, and Octograb in the bottom means another kill.
Yeah, Cloud9 has got a lot going for them in this time. That's going to be a 4-man wipe here. 4 of them going down. ETC the only one left up here, but positionally, they're not going to be able to make a top lane in time to be able to end the game, so they're going to take the bottom keep instead, taking the sidewall. They're going to look to end here. They're going to ignore this. They do have the tanks, I believe, to be able to do this. Murky's egg is not going to be close, so if he does go down, he'll have a hard time. The core is invulnerable at this point, and they're rotating through the sidewall to go for that keep. That was interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Dunk does have his 20, though. He's dying intentionally here, tanking the core, actually rotating it there. There he goes. He's going to be falling down himself. Now you're going to see him be able to heal up his team. You see Stray trying not to kill him in any way there. Cloud9 with aggressive rotation will win this game.
There's the Murky trying to go down. Uther finally falls, but it won't be enough, and Cloud9's going to bring it back in this series, and we get a game number 3 in the rematch.
That was interesting.
That was a strange game.
That was, yeah, that was weird. Almost nothing seemed to play how I feel like I expected, I guess. The fact that the early game was so heavily dominated, I felt like, by Brainpower, and then suddenly Cloud9 was like, hey guys, we're Cloud9. We can play this video game pretty well, and then just seemed to body the rest of the match.
Yeah, it was a long time for them seeming down, seeming like Brainpower was just going to easily 2-0 this, but now with that victory, it's a situation where Cloud9 has the momentum finally, whereas in the match before between these two teams, it was the same for Brainpower. Brainpower were the ones who won game 2 and then were able to carry that momentum forward.
Replays going on here, a decent amount of skirmish. This is actually Power Slide that made Iacona able to be able to cap that first tribute. Another one here. Great isolation going to happen here onto Stray and Glaurung. They're going to have no way to be able to survive these type of situations as they all turn. That's actually a really common misplay when it comes to Cursed Hollow. You have to take that rotation all in the same direction, or your opponents will always get split, especially against the false set. And here's Dunk keeping that egg alive.
Brainpower spent so many resources just to try to kill that, so it took a lot of damage from that. They just did, it was finally a chance where Cloud9 were able to win some fights and then be able to get back into this. Void Prison went down. A couple of Void Prisons were really good, but Glau also a couple times had some weird ones. But we have another game coming soon, guys, right after this break. Hey guys, welcome back to the North America Summer Regional number 2. Gillian Dread here, and we're right in the middle of the set between Brainpower and Cloud9. Now, let's talk a little bit about the situation that both of these teams are in. First of all, winner of this goes on to fight Team Naventic tomorrow in the semifinal.
Yep.
And Cloud9, I don't think, expected themselves to be in this position, having to go up maybe against Naventic, because it changes some things for how qualification works for the tournament.
Yeah, it does. So it's in a situation to where if they are removed, essentially, by Naventic, tomorrow, they still have an opportunity to win as long as Naventic wins the tournament, right? Because they got second at the last regional, they have an opportunity that if Naventic wins, they have a best of 3 to still be able to make it to Sweden. But if Naventic does not win the event, that is not going to be the case. Whoever does manage to win the event, it will. So it's a rough position for pretty much everyone right now, outside of Naventic. Then you're just kind of dusting the shoulders off, like, yeah, who's our next opponent? Because we're about to eat them for lunch. So.
Yeah, so if Naventic wins, and that would obviously mean that Cloud9 either fell out here or versus Naventic, then the second place team would go up against Cloud9 in a best of 3 match, tiebreaker match, and that it would be so stressful.
Yes. Especially if you got knocked out, right? Like you're in a situation where you weren't nearly as dominant. Also, already taking a note in this draft, it is Tomb of the Spider Queen. It's kind of mirroring the first one for the most part, the Anubrak band from Cloud9. And Brainpower goes with the Illidan. It's not his best map by any means. I think we can expect Rexar coming out for the side of Cloud9. This was not only their map choice, but it's one of their kind of go-tos when it comes to this map specifically.
Yeah, Cloud9's back to the Anubarak ban versus Brainpower. It didn't work out for them in game 1, but that was a much bigger battleground for Illidan to play on. So that's the difference here. Another difference straight up is that it went Sky and Cursed in the last match, but it then went to Towers of Doom. So Cloud9 have picked a different battleground to maybe try to be able to win this revenge match and move on to the semifinals. Cloud9 now have 2 picks. Tassadar is available. That will be 1 pick. Do you think we'll see Sonya follow up?
It is an option for them. Zul is also on the table in decent response to Illidan. I've honestly been just like kind of flabbergasted that we haven't seen him already in this tournament, especially on these smaller maps. If they don't take Zul, I think Brainpower should be looking to pick him up, even with already having Illidan on their team. Just the wave clear damage potentially provides is just phenomenal.
Right, especially because the lanes are so close together. He can rotate back and forth, cover 2 himself, and free up a lot of your other heroes to rotate around, maybe look for picks, or even get turn-ins, guard the turn-ins versus your opponents.
Yeah, Sonya, as we talked about, is a better when it comes to killing the Illidan, but when it comes to the wave clear and everything else, they go with Li Ming instead. That is surprising. I guess that's with the expectation that they don't expect Brainpower to take Zul and Sonya. Or it takes like one and then ban out the other in this situation, and so far they might be right. They do take the Zagara. I would really like to see them make sure they either take. I want to see them get on the Zul. I want to see the Zul. Rhaegar's. Gosh, yeah. I don't like the Zag pick. I feel like Zul had to be picked up in that area. They need to be worried about the wave clear. You already have the Illidan, a mediocre like soul laner, depending on the matchup. Some he dominates, others he just can't even stand in a lane. Zagara is a D solo. You do obviously need the Rhaegar to be able to keep him alive, but if you aren't, you're going to be worried about the Sonya for the 1v1 onto the Illidan, and then you also need to be worried about Zul, because guess what? You don't have very good wave clear right now, and that's not going to get any better once your opponent picks Zul. Decent response to the Illidan in every way, and they go with the Tracer instead. So
maybe it's a situation where they're going to grab Johanna again, and that will help out with the wave clear in that regard?
It would not surprise me, considering that's where they had success, and it's better on this map than some of the others.
Especially with the ETC ban.
Yeah.
Cloud9 now have 2 picks for themselves. At some point, we'll see a support. Uther is still on the table. Probably somebody who can be a good solo lane hero up against Zagara, unless they want to put that on Tassadar. Zul not banned though, still up.
I mean, have we even seen him played in this tournament? I don't feel like we have.
I think maybe once.
And if it was, I bet it was probably Naventic that looked to get the draft on him. But for the most part, he just seems to almost be completely neglected in this patch.
He's been played 3 games.
Are we talking at this tournament specifically?
Yes.
Well, I somehow didn't document that in some way, shape, or form. But it just felt like there was a couple drafts, like even Gale Force, where Zul was really appealing and just completely made it through entire drafts here. But we'll find out. Cloud9 now. Rexxar Tyrande is still kind of on the table, which is something they obviously were kind of famed for at the last regional. Putting up a lot of games against Naventic with the Rexxar, and doing so earlier in their games today as well.
It's another battleground where you want to, there's Tyrande, by the way. It's another battleground where you want to be able to control turn-ins and channeling. But Tyrande and Zul, there you go.
Yeah, I found them. I just, is this going to be, is it going to be, there's no way they Rexxar with this. They're going to pair it with a Murden instead. I don't think there's any way that they do that. But if they do that, it'll be the first time we've ever seen Kanamisha's solo tank. Johanna is picked up for Srey, and then Sylvanas as well. I do like that, having a lot of complement when it comes to the map objective on this map specifically. Usually gains a lot of value, and also pretty much a must-have when you have the Illidan as well, to help their comp be better at sieging. And also really great wave clear as well. So Cloud9 now, are they going to go with the Murden? Are they going to go with the Rexxar? They go with the Arthas instead. All right.
Arthas, all right. We've seen more Arthases to try to deal with heroes like Illidan. Illidan like specifically, with Frigid Winds, you can slow down attack speed. Later on, we've a lot of times been picking up the Deathlord talents, the Death Coil, but for Cloud9, they have also run the Frost Presence too, to have Howling Blast up really often. And with this battleground, the lanes being close together, they have a potential to rotate around and try to get picks between that and Tyrande.
Yeah, I actually really like the Arthas pick. He used to be a pretty solid response to Illidan. Just because the slow, putting him in a rough position, once he commits, he pretty much has to commit. Friend or Foe is slightly going to be able to change that compared to what happened back in the day. But overall, Cloud9 does have a lot of tools to deal with a lot of situations when it comes to the map. It's all going to come down to whether or not Brainpower can really open up the map so Illidan can kind of dance around, because if they do not, he will just struggle in a majority of the team fights. Also, Cloud9 has phenomenal delay. Not to say that Brainpower doesn't have delay, but not nearly as effective as Owl and Tassadar can be.
Yeah, I very much agree. A lot of it comes down to the delay, also especially because Sylvanas. They don't want to let too many turn-ins happen with Sylvanas, but here we go. Cloud9, iDream will be playing Arthas, K1 Pro on Li Ming, Caterpillar playing Tyrande, King Caffeine playing Zul, and Dunk Train on Tassadar.
And for Brainpower, we're going to have Faye on Zagara, Cthulhu Luck is going to be playing the Sylvanas, Iacona on the Rhaegar, Srey on the Johanna, and Glaurung on the Illidan.
So get hyped, because this is not only the last game of this match, but the last game of the day too. Winner of this goes on to face Naventic.
And the other goes home. Sadly, that is the truth and the reality that we live in. All right, Cloud9.
I'm glad you explained that situation. Thank you.
Just in case you didn't know, they're going to go home. They're going to be sad. They're going to look at their drafts and be like, I don't know what happened, guys.
Rexar happened.
Rexar.
Murky. Okay, well, here we go in the laning. A lot of times it kind of depends, but you'll put the solo laner in one. Should be Zagara for Brainpower. And very close in the poll between these two teams. Who is going to win it? It's tough. It's tough from here on out, right? This match has been tough for both of them. They have to go on and try to take down Naventic, but only one can do it. And they're out in the middle lane. We'll see who can clear out that minion wave first.
Yeah, and so Brainpower is already posturing in the upper half of the map, and Zagara is on the bottom. That's because they have Sylvanas and Zagara. Both are great in the solo lane here, getting a little, oh man, but that might be it for Glaurung, because E is going to come out here. There's not going to be anything to keep him alive. He's going to fall down here. Very aggressive in that decision-making early on in this match and setting his team a little bit behind already. Meanwhile, Srey, guess what? He's going to be go dying as well. Surprising to see that decision-making when nobody on Cloud9 really heavily showed. None of them were dismounted in any way, and Arthas, Tyrande, like we talk about the aggression that exists with like Murd and Tyrande, Arthas is without a doubt the most, because it doesn't even matter if he hits the stun, you were constantly slowed. So Brainpower already a little too aggressive, a little too confident in their matchup. Right,
especially before Illidan has Friend or Foe at level 4, didn't have that ability, and then Srey trying to maybe pull them off with a Condemn, but Arthas, he used to be known for being picked with Kerrigan because of this early game rotation ability to do damage. Lunar Flare hits Cthulhu Luck, but still he has Haunting Wave and will get away from this. But yeah, these guys really have to make sure that they don't lose too many people to picks early on, because Brainpower, if they can start to get turn-ins, they'll be able to do a lot with it.
Actually, one thing I'd really like to see from them, Srey now popping his passive. One thing I really like to see is actually going with more of a Chinese approach to this meta with this game, is actually leave Sylvanas and somebody on top, and then somebody to baby the Zagara, because you want Cloud9's, all they're going to do is rotate and look to kill. That's all they want to do.
Exactly.
So what you do is you force, when they go top, at most you lose one person, you push on bottom because the number advantage, right? Like, and then guess what? They go to bottom, you're going to keep doing that on top. Rather than worrying about this, we're going to send 3 top, so they don't even have to think about where they're going to rotate. They just all go up there, and it's like, hey, our kill potential is pretty high, and they get a pick. So I feel like Brainpower could make some minor adjustments here. Now they 3-man rotate bottom, so guess what? They're just going to rotate bottom. It has to be a 2-1-2.
Yeah, they're going to pull people from Cloud9 bottom here now that they know, just like you said, that there's a lot of people here. And maybe they can just try to rotate faster and go back between top and bottom, but that takes so long for them to get up there. And Cloud9, with going constantly from the mid to the bottom, they're having no problem reacting to what Brainpower is doing. They're not getting anything done with this.
Yeah, and Brainpower is actually backing out, taking an early night camp. They do have really good heroes for that, so maybe their response to not understanding what they can do in their laning phase quite yet. Instead, we're going to get a little bit of Merc pressure early on, which is not something you typically see on this map specifically.
Iacona picked up Lightning Bond at level 4, or level 1, to give himself his own Lightning Shield, along with whoever he gives it to, helping out with more of the damage to Glaurung's going to get hit by the Bone Prison again, and the immediate follow-up with Lunar Flare, Hunter's Mark. Again, this keeps happening to them.
I mean, I feel like that's 100% expected when you see a Zul Tyrande. It's just like, oh, that's going to be, I'm dead. Until Iacona gets the cleanse as well, they're not going to be able to deal with it here. And again, with how they've committed their resources, they're pretty much just on the back foot this entire time.
I like the Spectral Scythe build with Death's Reach from King Caffeine, increasing the range of that. I'm hoping that that means that he'll go into Flowing Wounds later on and Decrepify and even maybe Mortal Wound. It's my favorite Zool build to see because you just constantly keep them from being able to get healed up with so many Spectral Scythes and Mortal Wound. Words are hard.
Words are hard. Now we see two people rotating up for Brainpower. Meanwhile, Caffeine is going to look to get the prison. Where's it going to be his death, though? Here's the Howling Blast. Here's the Tyrande. He's not going to be enough to get the kill. Actually, Cattle's going to be in a rough position here. Sray's getting the kill. Iakona's going to secure it, but guess what? Glaurung is going to go down here. Now Sray's in his hub spot. His passive now going off. The prison is going to hit here. Will it be his death, though? Li Ming's trying to make it happen in the turnaround there, going 2 for 1 so far in this trade. Somehow, Brainpower comes out on top, dancing a little bit too close to the forts.
I love how Brainpower handled that. They said they're going to put the Bone Prison on Illidan, just make sure he gets back, and then while they're trying to go for that kill, they rotate around and get a kill of their own. So finally, they did still lose 1, but they got 2 for it. They've tied up an experience, but the Web Weavers, the first Web Weavers of the game responding, and they're going to be for Cloud9. So this is their chance to try to do a lot of damage structurally and try to get to their heroic abilities faster.
Yeah, so now we see the lane. Zool's on the upper half of the map here. Li Ming is now on bottom in the 1v1. Sylph does manage to rotate mid to try and get the clear as best as possible. Vaughn getting a decent amount of damage. Great cleanse from Iacona here. I'm surprised they decided to take the skirmish. It feels like Glaurung is getting a little too aggressive here on the Illidan, especially with so many siege cams up and how weak of a siege they have. Great Howling Blast into a double Lunar Flare.
As long as iDream keeps hitting these Howling Blasts, he puts it on a 5-second cooldown, and it's just continually hitting people and opening up the possibility for Lunar Flare and Hunter's Mark and getting more and more picks. Brainpower have to be so careful with this until they can start to tank up a bit, but they have to also try to deal with these Web Weavers which are out. And if they can't, that's going to be a lot of experience that Cloud9 can start to get.
Yeah, K1 Pro getting a little bit of harass out there. Meanwhile, Glaurung is trying to get advances on his opponent here again. The Web Weavers now just falling. 68 gems are in the hands of Brainpower. Meanwhile, 34 only for Cloud9. They will be able to possibly get a turn in, but again, the delay that exists in the hands of Cloud9 right now is very, very good.
Brainpower defended that pretty well. They're still tied up in experience. Once again, Bone Prison hits Glaurung. He's probably very sick of that ability. It's just constant. It just keeps going on him. As soon as he runs in, it's like, okay, now I walk right back out. Thanks.
I mean, you leave Zool open on Entomb of the Spider Queen and you have an Illidan on your team. I'm surprised, like you would expect that, right? Like that's just going to happen. I feel like they hopefully prepared for that, at least when it came to the draft early on in this matchup. Only a quarter level lead at best. That's probably pushing it a little bit here for Cloud9, but with the front wall here that they're going to be able to get, securing 10 a little bit more.
And with keeping control of these rotations too, they've been very forward and back and forth, and it's made it tough for Brainpower to try to get a turn in. We talked about how great the composition of Cloud9 is at being able to delay, and they've done this long enough now that they're about to have heroic abilities, which means Brainpower have to leave, and Cloud9 are getting close to having enough gems for yet another turn-in.
Yeah, and at this point, if Brainpower was to turn in, it would hurt them a little bit, largely because they do not have their heroics quite yet, so they're going to try and wait that out. They decided to go with the Night Camp as the kind of response to delay a little bit here in between, but now Cloud9 has closed in on their ability to get a turn-in here. Now having enough, trying to posture on mid and top here. I think they're going to get it. Zool is turning in for the time being. Only 8 going to be turned in for him. Tassadar does have a lot in his hands, though. 18.
Sray has 40 on himself, and that's a little bit scary. There goes Tassadar. He's used Dimensional Shift already, and Glaurung jumping over to Body Block. They take out Tassadar, but Glaurung has to use Metamorphosis to get out of that situation. Ancestral Healing keeps him alive, but they've been able to push back. Skeletal Mages were burned. Nobody gets hit by the Howling Blast, and Brainpower get away, having taken a kill.
They do go 1 for 0 in that trade. Both teams popping a lot of heroics, but Cloud9 still has enough to turn in. Meanwhile, K1 Pro is going to be backing, so Brainpower is going to try and get the turn in. The Owl does only delay 1. 20 is going to be turned in here. They can be very aggressive here, though. They only have a man advantage here and don't even get a single turn in. They're trying to zone off Sray. Caffeine's not going to let that happen. Owl was stacked with that now. Caffeine has to overextend, but guess what? iDream is there on that Arthas there to try and make it happen. Oh, but he doesn't pop the Howling Blast, or excuse me, the Haunting Wave there when he had the prison on him, and he does go down.
Goodbye, Sylvanas. The tough part for Brainpower right now is that Sray has 40 gems on him, and that is it's tough because he wants to be out in front. He wants to zone people away. He wants to pull them away from his teammates, but can't do that because he's trying to also turn them in. And with that, they lost Sylvanas, and they still did get a turn in, though.
Yeah, it's always a struggle when you have your tank hold a majority of like the coins or the gems, whatever map you want to be on, because they're typically your best zoning tool, right? But when your zoning tool has to be the one that's turning in, it pretty much means that you're going to have a bad time for the majority of it here. Now, Brainpower does get the web weaver spawning for them. Top is going to be very far back, but they do have a Sylvanas. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and group up here. Keep in mind, they need to open up the map. The more forts, the better here for them. Actually, iDream with a very aggressive rotation, getting a 3-man Howling Blast, but it's not going to matter.
Blessed Shield was on point, and now Metamorphosis to come right back in as Starfall is trying to maybe zone people away, slow them down to just try to keep them from being losing this fort because of this Web Weaver and Sylvanas push. But Glaurung is kind of distracting while the rest can bring this fort down.
Top Web Weaver is at half health here now, and nobody is going to be able to stop it, so it's getting value on the front wall as well. Again, iDream's very aggressive rotation has now cost them quite a bit. The Sylvanas is being abused very well. Now a front wall is going to be going down as well on mid, and maybe a fort on top. This is going to be far riskier than the other structures taken, but also keep in mind, Army of the Undead is a lot up for HotS, so this team fight is not unrealistic for them to take.
They have Skeletal Mages too. If Zul can get kind of in the back and start to zone a Howling Blast, and they have to use Clint to let Glaurung get away. Devouring Maw now means that the Web Weaver's phase is done. Both have enough for another turn-in, but it's Brainpower who's about to get a level advantage with their level 13 talents.
1 fort is only down for Brainpower, so it's not like the map is going to be open very well for them. The fight that they want to take is going to be at the bottom turn-in, hopefully letting Cloud9 move down or to the left. The minute they move through mid, it's going to be a lot harder for them to win in these type of team fights. Illidan needs a place to dance, you know? He likes open spaces.
He does like open pit. Don't we all?
So much room for activities, you know? Like.
No, Spray stops K1 Pro from getting the turn-in for the team. And they are going to go for the fight. Blessed Shield comes out, as does Starfall, and Brainpower move away, but Glaurung in the bottom of the big Metamorphosis, and K1 Pro is not dropping. Glaurung gets rooted, and the Disintegrate comes out, but Disintegrate also means K1 Pro might be in a tough position.
Really good job. The fight went through that fort that doesn't exist. Keep in mind, meanwhile, Glaurung's taking a lot of damage. Clint is coming out. Nobody is actually dying here. iDream is trying to survive. The Howling Blast does come out. Wave of Force is actually, or excuse me, what was that knockback there? I thought it was Wave of Force, but that's not even taken. So HotS is now going to be falling down. Glaurung is actually looking like he's going to lose his life. There is an owl. It doesn't hit. Meanwhile, the orb is only going to get a lot of damage onto Rhaegar. 82 gems are now in the hands of Brainpower.
Yeah, they should be able to get a turn-in off of this too. There's no HotS, and that was a great place. That's where they wanted to fight, and that's exactly where they took it.
I swear I saw a knockback there. I have no idea. It's like, I know, where was it? Maybe everybody just moved perfectly, like there was a knockback for a second there? I don't know. Beautiful team micro. It was like almost like synchronized dodging at that point. That was attractive.
The pairing with Web Weavers along with the Giants means there's going to be more of a push in the bottom lane, which is, of course, where the 1 fort is down. So what they can do is they can use this as a distraction. They know they're eventually going to have to make someone respond there, and they can fight up here. Another Bone Prison, but it doesn't go in combo with the Howling Blast. They do hit with the Lunar Flare, but Glaurung's staying nice and healthy now. And they're going to start pushing in, trying to siege down this next fort.
They just need to be patient. Brainpower is actually risking a lot here. They don't have the value of this siege on the bottom half of the map, so they're risking a lot. They do decide to dive here. HotS is going to get hit by the silencing arrow. Glaurung's going very deep, does get the dodge back though, and the fort will fall.
Good cleanse to let Glaurung get away. They really have to baby him. They baby him extra because of all of those bone prisons. Cloud9 basically showed their hand by hitting him with that so much early on. They know that it's going to be thrown on him every time. And that means they really have to watch out for him and make sure that they have things like cleanse available for him. Yeah,
and this is the moment where if it wasn't already pretty scary, Glaurung now is going to have a lot to deal with. Every single fort on the map has been removed. And with that level lead now closing in at 16, they don't have enough for a turn-in quite yet, but I do believe they'll have the goaltending, if you will, enough to be able to delay, get 16, and potentially a turn-in at that point.
HotS did grab Frigid Winds at 16, so if he can make sure his positioning is good to allow, or to force Glaurung even to be in his Frozen Tempest for a long time, it'll eventually stack up to reduce his attack speed significantly, and that's always a big win versus Illidan. Not only is it removing some of his damage, but self-heal too.
Yeah. And so now they are closing in towards 16. They do have 32 gems. Only 15 are going to be turned in, sitting at only needing 13 more. And that will be possible with a couple ways, even scouting out the boss of Fear because they haven't shown on the map for some time. Cloud9 is going to be just trying to just get 16. That's what they're looking to do. Maybe sneak a turn in here. Stray has shown on bottom so far up that they might be able to get this turn in, actually. Glaurung is getting pretty aggressive here, even though it is a 4 versus 5 for now. Dash and Gap, they are closing in on 16 as well.
Man, Zagara is just so good at delaying the turn-ins. Just like we talked about Cloud9 having some good heroes to do that. The fact that she can throw down her minions that last for a really long time there.
Yeah.
And she's been doing such a good job of keeping the creep tumors in one of the turn-in areas so they can sit in the other one. And either way, Cloud9, where they look to turn in, they aren't able to do it.
Yeah, and so now we see that they are actually 10 gems away to be able to get the turn in here for Brainpower. I doubt they're going to be able to abuse that here for their 16. Ikona's like, please, I just need the turn in, even willing to risk just getting that one turn in right here, and actually scouting out the boss to see if they're onto it. They do not have it quite yet. This is such a rough spot when you're Brainpower. Yes, you do have a lead here, but you're like, can I just please get this turn in? Just, I'm so close. I don't want them to be 16. Please, just give me the gems. I need them. And they actually start on this boss here. They
It's
does
spotted.
get scouted out.
Then they just walk away. They're like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
you saw it.
It was neat. It was a neat attempt.
Something else that's neat is Overwhelming Affliction for Sylvanas. This is something I've seen Cawthon Luck pick before at 16. It's not Cold Embrace, so it's not the vulnerability, but what it does do is Black Arrows applies to heroes, eventually slowing them down, and it's a stacking slow. So if you can burn all of his quiver on one person, they're slowed down and can't get away from Illidan.
Yeah, and Faye was in a rough spot there on the 1v3. Good job from Cloud9, understanding the circumstances and being able to force that turn in. All the minion waves are pushing against them. Top is stuck there as well. It won't be budging there, so it won't be getting too much value for them there. Meanwhile, they are going to be able to have a decent clear in mid and bottom. It looks like Cloud9 is rotating down, so it'll be a free clear here, and then Cloud9, or excuse me, Brainpower will probably try and force the fight. I'm surprised to see Glaurung rotating top, honestly. Okay, so he does pause out. He realizes that's not going to be the rotation. I feel like that was very risky from them, and they're going to sit here and get the defense.
The nice thing for Cloud9 is all of the forts are up for Brainpower. Normally not a thing that you would like, but because they have the Web Weaver phase now, they can get a lot of structures down. It's experience in the bank for them at this point. Yeah. You just need to bring them down. They have to use Iron Skin to be able to get away. I think that was what he was, and Howling Blast does not connect, so now that'll be one fort down. Bottom fort will also drop.
Yeah, and these Web Weavers are getting decent amount of value. Actually, Glaurung getting aggressive, getting Force Out completely. Huge Metamorphosis. Meanwhile, Stray with the flank here.
There's the flank, and Glaurung coming into the rest of Brainpower are starting to file in. They're going after K1 Pro, but with the shielding of Tassadar, can't get it. There's a force wall, but that's nothing to Glaurung, who can dive right over it and back onto Dunk Train. They're really trying to bring him down. They force out Prescience. There's the Skeletal Mages still just trying to save him, but a Disintegrate does not bring down Glaurung, and the kill will go to Brainpower.
Yeah, and that was honestly a really bold choice coming out from Glaurung, knowing that like he didn't have Ancestral. Ancestral was used when he was at roughly 80% health, getting him little to no value here. Now, Cthulhu is actually going down to bottom, trying to clear that out as best he can. He does have the wave clear available. It looks like they're going to start the boss here. This is very risky. Number one, it's scouted. Number two, there's only Tassadar down, so it's really not the best position. Ma is going to be up, so they do have boss control when it comes to heroics, but the kill potential for Cloud9 is very high, and the amount of poke that I expect them to get in this amount of time is going to be there, especially with Wailing Arrow off cooldown. Blessed Shield soon to be up.
Yeah, there's no Wailing Arrow, and there's no Ancestral Healing. Stray gets hit by Bone Prison. That's okay, that's not Glaurung getting caught too far up there, but still the boss is going down. They're doing such a great job of zoning, and it's Iacona and Glaurung slowly bringing this down, and they get the boss.
That was insane, especially for the amount of poke that you saw onto Glaurung and Iacona, both falling below the 50% threshold. They do secure the boss for themselves and a turn-in now. This could be game-ending. If they manage to get 1 to 2 picks here, they can win the game with this push here for Brainpower. They might be able to secure it. Meanwhile, bottom's not going to gain too much value. Mid will be threatening a keep from wall. They need to keep this boss alive as best they can.
It was such a risky play, but it totally paid off, especially with the zoning. And now that they have Sylvanas, they can make sure that these structures aren't attacking the boss, and it falls down to the members of Cloud9 to take it out. But they do have some poke. They have things like Hunter's Mark. They're using Skeletal Mages to try to zone people back. They may go in for this fight now, too, knowing that they really need to take some people out.
The Web Weaver now is going to be casting a spell soon. Meanwhile, Glaurung gets ripped apart there. Not even having a moment to get the Ancestral onto him. Meanwhile, they're getting aggressive. Lunar Flare is going to only hit 2 targets, but guess what? That Web Weaver is now little to no value. Meanwhile, K1 Pro is going to be able to get the clear on mid. That was worst case scenario for Brainpower. They had a lot of momentum going for them. They just used all of their turn-in, and now they're not going to be able to get anything because they put all their eggs in the top lane basket, reasonably so they had the boss, but with Glaurung down, they just can't do anything now.
That was all Cloud9 needed, is just to bring down Glaurung, and the Ancestral Healing just a little bit too late. Then that comes to the ability of Cloud9 to just completely blow people up. They have things like Hunter's Mark, they have Li Ming too. If she can hit all of 3 of those magic missiles with Seeker, it's going to do more. And then Spectral Scythe. And they are going for this full Spectral Scythe build. No amplified damage at 16, but they already have Hunter's Mark. They already have the ability to make somebody vulnerable.
And so now they do have 29 gems for Brainpower, 86 for Cloud9. They're trying to get the turn-in on bottom. This is a fight they can't take with Faye out of position the way that she is. Skeletal Mage is going to come in. Howling Blast will miss, but Ancestral hitting perfectly. Great 3-man Maw, but I don't think it's going to matter. Glaurung is now here. He's going to early meta.
There goes the meta just to get into the fight. Their Howling Blast will get Stray, but they're still trying to make this happen. They've already used Maw. And they're going to stop this just by getting a good Bone Prison once again on Glaurung.
Honestly, forcing Maw and Metamorphosis like that was a huge win for Cloud9.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that they decided, like, we have no reason to take this fight right now. We have everything to lose and very little to gain out of winning that. So I do like that choice coming out from them being very calculated once more in their decision-making. I really feel like if Glaurung had been aggressive and then used the Metamorphosis defensively, that would have been a different story. They definitely could have looked to take that fight a little bit better here. So getting a little aggressive. But guess what? Meta is going to be reset by capturing the Knights by yourself. It's already on a 25-second cooldown.
They also were able to get Ancestral Healing too, so until all of those are back up, we're not seeing too much with Brainpower, but Brainpower are closer to 20, so if they can stall this out just slightly longer, they'll have Storm Talons and will fend off Cloud9's turn-in.
That was huge from Chthon. That Haunted Wave got all 4 to stop their turn-in because they already burnt roaches, were zoned completely on the side of Faye. That was very well done from him, hitting them from the different angle where they couldn't see and be able to get that for them. Now you see Brainpower is just grasping, trying to get everything that they possibly can to get this turn in again. The Owls are sniffing out Glaurung in every single Merc camp. They do have 20 advantage now, but they don't have enough to get the turn in quite yet. Yeah,
they have some breathing room. They now have Indestructible Demonic Form too, which will help Illidan out a lot. And of course, Iacona is waiting, maybe looking at Rewind or Storm Shield to deal with some of the damage. Cloud9 almost 220 for themselves. We'll see if Mortal Wound will be the pickup to try it is. He's going to grab Mortal Wound, maybe try to stop that Ancestral from getting as much value and keeping Glaurung in fights as long.
It'll be interesting to see if he's able to Metamorphosis kind of like the Scythe, so that's not going to be kind of a high value choice for him.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to how well it's played here between these two teams. Brainpower now is slowly getting close to the turn-in, but they give it up almost for free there. iDream will get the roaches dropped on him. Stray's getting very aggressive. Keep in mind they don't have enough for the turn-in, but iDream's completely isolated here.
Another thing to consider about iDream is he has Frigid Winds, which means that Remorseless Winter, if he gets too close, then he'll start to get rooted. And there's a lot of roots, a lot of control for Glaurung. He's about to get there, as all you have to do is be in there for a few seconds. Glaurung goes for the Metamorphosis in the back, but gets hit by so much damage with the Hunter's Mark II. Rhaegar goes in for Ancestral Healing and gets it, but he goes down. No more heals for this team, and they lose Sylvanas to a big Devouring Mob just to try to help the rest of them disengage.
Yeah, and Stray still does have his passive at this point, but I don't think it's going to matter. Glaurung has very few escape tools up for the time being. Howling Blast is going to hit. Does get the dash. He does have the friend or foe. Guess what, though? Zool might have something else to say about this situation. Flanking from above. No, he's not going to be able to make it. That's going to be a turn-in for Cloud9 at this point. They want to push out the waves as best as they possibly can. I really actually want to see before somebody go top for Cloud9 right now as fast as they can. There you go, see Li Ming. They need to get value out of every Web Weaver here. They can't risk just only having one lane to get value out of anymore when it comes to these, because not only are they absurdly powerful, but they need to get as many structures down as possible for them, because they're not in the best of spot. It looks relatively even, but that top keep is very close to dying for them.
Yeah, they need to open up some way for them to win the game should they get into another fight and be able to win it.
Yeah, and so they didn't decide to clear on top, so it's going to gain very little value for a majority of the time. Bottom's the only one, so it's going to go bottom, mid to top. Top, I don't even think Brainpower is going to have to worry about for now. They don't have the best clear in the world. They do have Zag still, but obviously Illidan doesn't necessarily thrive in these situations. Last time Cloud9 had really kind of a momentum swing was when they did push with the Web Weavers, so expect that to happen again here. I do think Cloud9 is going to be looking to try to end the game.
Illidan can't even really get out and take out the Web Weavers where Cloud9 are because now of HotS and the fact that he can get rooted in so many different ways. And there is one of the roots, and Sray goes right back into this. They've used these skeletal mages, and Ancestral Healing has to be used on Sray. This is worst case, they don't have it now for Glaurung, but they're trying to continue this fight. Especially
when Sray had his passive at that point, he didn't need to burn it necessarily for him. And they're risking a fight they don't really have to. Yes, this keep is going to be going down. Keep in mind, Sray does have the passive again. Glaurung's diving deep, but nobody can come with him. He has to get a kill onto K1, but it's not going to matter. Meta is coming in as well. Ooh. Wailing Arrow's going to hit with everybody else, but is it going to matter? Everybody keeps getting Tash shielded. Oh, the shielding is just so amazing to keep everyone from Cloud9 alive, but they're very low mana pools for a lot of the members of Cloud9. Sray hits them with a blind just to try to keep them from being able to mount up away. Glaurung going deep, getting Idrin going 1-for-1, but is it going to matter? That is going to be one reset. Cthulhu tries to get out, but it's not going to matter right for now. The top Web Weaver does fall down. Keep in mind, Cloud9 has enough for another turn, and that top keep goes down because they didn't contest it for so long. So even with it being all the way back there, it just got a lot of value. Right, the distractions were there, the distractics. They lose HotS, but they still get a keep. And importantly, the keep in the top lane where Boss is available. And a turn-in. I'm going to say that was worth. Wow, another turn-in for Cloud9. This is a very difficult position for Brainpower to be in. They knew that it was going to happen. They started their bruisers just to try to hold off the aggression, but their other two keeps, because those the Web Weavers were pushing for so long, they're low too. This is so rough. Brainpower has to play very, very well in the next couple of seconds here, or they're going to have a hard time. Top is going to be cleared first, looks like, by Johanna. Obviously, without the keep, they're afraid to move into the core. Mid keep is going to be the next one, highly pressured, and bottom is already weak as well. So this might be a triple keep play, and if kills happen, game-ending for Cloud9 here. You see them trying to help both of these, baby them up, make something happen. I'm surprised nobody's staying top to clear the top Web Weaver completely. Like, Sylvanas, somebody with good wave clear. Illidan, anybody, just get rid of it. And meanwhile, somebody else clear on mid. Okay, so they do the rotation. I just feel like they aren't maximizing their defense as best as they possibly could in this situation, knowing HotS is not going to be there for now. They might send Illidan up next since he really just can't do very much with this HotS now. At the point that he is at, there's just so many ways for him to die. He jumps right into the root. The Howling Blast gets away, but not before taking a bunch of damage, and this keep will be forfeit. The keep will be falling. Web Weaver on top now, slowly falling down. They aren't going to look to try and take this fight. Yeah, they are actually. Sray is moving aggressively here. Glaurung, it has been healed up as well. He does decide to dash in here. Good damage on coming on to iDream for now. Sray is going to take a large amount of damage, but it's all about Glaurung. He is going to start diving the backline. Blessed Shield already used. He's going to jump in. He's got the Hunter's Mark on him, but has to use Metamorphosis to get out of the Bone Prison. Again, a wonderful Wailing Arrow, but Ancestral Healing just to keep Glaurung alive, and they still can't take anybody out, but they are barely burning down those health bars. Caterpillar's in a rough spot. It looks like he's going to be falling down. Meanwhile, iDream is still chasing. King Caffeine's going to be falling as well, most likely here in the 1v1. There goes 1, 2. This might be 3. That's 4. That's it. 4 people. That's going to be it. Brainpower can go to the top lane and end the game right now. They don't need to do anything else. Glaurung is one of the best heroes in the game when it comes to going for the core. They still have Ma up, which is going to be a great zoning tool that they might be able to hit Li Ming. There's almost no defensive tools. They should be able to do this here as long as they play it patiently and properly. K1 Pro has got to hit the skill shots here. One reset might be enough for it at this point, but I don't think that's it. Cloud9 is going to fall out. All right, there goes the keep. They're running to the core. Cloud jumps onto it, and K1 Pro is going to do everything he can to stop this with his damage. Mana pools are low. They don't catch K1 Pro, but it doesn't matter. That will be it. And in the rematch, Brainpower is going to take down Cloud9 and go on to the semifinal match. That was, I mean, who would have thought? Cloud was celebrating so hard he accidentally paused the game. Oh, man. Cloud9 does fall to Brainpower the second time. A beautiful story between these teams, especially with the recent roster swaps. Cloud9 obviously showing signs of struggle for some time here, but it only seems to kind of finalize now. But it was scary. Like, look at the relief. Excitement for sure, but relief. Because that last game was so back and forth, and losing keeps the way that they did. They had control of it, started to lose their keeps, knew it came down to fights. Glaurung, they had so many ways of dealing with Glaurung, even from the beginning with Bone Prisons. It was just the perfect place to find a fight, and the way that they executed that got so many kills. They finally broke out of that. Yeah, and here's the aggressive boss decision-making with only one down. The great zoning coming up from Sarai here. You'll see him just constantly posturing around. Actually, that is a lie. We're going to start with a fight onto the bottom half. And Glarong does get prisoned here in this situation, but he does seem to get a lot of value here in these team fights. It's just, it was constantly the battle of like, can Glarong survive and get enough kills here? But
man, the Arthas and Zul play together. I really thought that they had it. That was a great Devouring Moth to let the rest of them disengage.
Yeah.
But there's so many tools that they had to deal with Illidan, and it was almost enough. It's just that one final battle. They did what they needed to win that, and that does mean they're going to up against Naventic. But let's hear from our victors.
All right, thank you very much, guys. I am here with Glarong, and this is normally a question that I don't ask, but I kind of have to ask after hearing your reaction there. How are you feeling right now after that victory?
I'm feeling super, super good. I mean, we were a little bit sad after the GFE set, but with a couple adjustments, like positioning-wise, I knew we could beat C9 again. We beat them yesterday, and I respect everyone on C9, like unbelievable amount. But I believed, like, in our new roster, we're still pretty new, but everyone played super well. I'm really proud, and I think we can give Naventic a run for their money, hopefully. They're a really scary opponent, but I'm excited to play them tomorrow.
Well, you answered my third question there, so thanks for that one. Going on to the second question, of course. Going into the second game, they actually went for a Tracer ban on their second ban. Was that something that was expected from you? Like, obviously, like, we were talking about the idea of maybe banning out Zeratul to deal with you. That didn't quite go as it was. Were you surprised by the Tracer?
As it was, I think C9's like, they've always been really good at abusing your mistakes in draft. Okay. And they realized that with my Rager ban, they could pick up Uther early, and they knew that we would have to go on to the Task Toronto, which is still good, but then we didn't have a cleanse. And the Tracer Task together is unbelievably strong, and you can punish people really hard. But the thing is, they ended up countering us not having a cleanse. With the Murky, we didn't expect the Murky. We played around it kind of poorly. Like, I'm actually disappointed past 2 games on Cursed Hollow. I've been playing too passive in certain situations, but like, to answer your question, I think the we would have picked Tracer if it was up, I guess.
Okay, fair play. I can respect that. And then I guess I'll kind of go back to a little bit of the previous question that I wanted to ask you, which was about Naventic, but then I guess I'll bridge that and move on a bit further. Obviously, you're now in contention for challenging for a spot towards summer. Is that something you are looking at in the future, or is you just trying to deal with Naventic to start? How are your feelings forwards in that regard?
I'd like to take it one game at a time, honestly. I mean, the end goal, I'd love to try myself out at international competition once again. But, like, honestly, Naventic has 5 scary players. We got to be prepared and just take it a game at a time. Make sure every draft we get what we want and just try our best tomorrow.
All right, well, thank you very much. Good luck tomorrow as we shall go back over now to the casters to wrap up day number 2 here from the Heroes of the Storm National.
Thank you, Caleris. The stage is set, Dread, for tomorrow, our playoffs. Only 3 matches remain before we know likely who will be moving on. It kind of depends a little bit, but let's take a look at where we came from yesterday and today. Looking at Group A, Team Naventic were the ones to be able to win it, not even dropping a single map in their series. Astral Authority, though, able to take out Panda Global twice to be the second team to make it out of there.
Yeah, the Naventic has just been so dominant, but in Group B, the true story of this tournament, it feels like, Brainpower has taken out Cloud9 not only once but twice, but meanwhile, Gale Force is shown to be a rising star here in North America. Just, it's been phenomenal to see how these teams have played it out.
So with those 4 teams moving on, tomorrow we'll start with the semifinals. Team Naventic versus Brainpower and Gale Force Esports versus Astral Authority, a rematch from our first regionals to determine who will be our teams in the finals. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us today, both in the audience and online. We hope you enjoyed these games as much as we did. They've been fantastic.
Yes, they have been phenomenal. And thank you everyone who has tuned in. I mean, obviously any support for the Heroes Esports, it's just awesome, so thank you.
We love you all. And guys, don't forget tomorrow, the semifinals and the finals starting at 10 a.m. PDT. We will see you then. Have a good night.